Hello viewers, welcome back to Electrology. Today's video is going to be different from our past videos. We usually discuss electrical engineering concepts, but today we will dive into a gripping case study, the Chernobyl disaster. We will explore what led to this catastrophic nuclear accident, the science behind the explosion, and its devastating aftermath. So, stay tuned as we uncover the details of one of the most tragic events in nuclear history. Technology has advanced civilization, but sometimes it can turn against us. One such tragic event occurred on April 26, 1986, in the Soviet Union. At precisely 1:23 a.m. local time, the most devastating nuclear disaster in human history took place at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant's Reactor 4 during a late-night safety test. The Chernobyl power plant, officially named the Vladimir Lenin nuclear power plant, was located 16 kilometers from the city of Chernobyl. Built in the 1970s, it housed 4 RBMK 1000 reactors, each capable of generating 1,000 megawatts of electricity. The RBMK reactor design was unique, using uranium-235 as fuel, boron control rods to regulate reactions, graphite as a moderator to sustain fission, and water as a coolant. Uranium-235 is a radioactive isotope capable of nuclear fission. When a neutron strikes a uranium atom, it splits, releasing energy and additional neutrons. These new neutrons collide with other uranium atoms, creating a chain reaction that generates massive heat. This is called nuclear fission. This heat converts water into steam, which drives turbines and generates electricity with the help of a generator. Control rods, made of boron, absorb neutrons to slow the reaction, while graphite, acting as a moderator, increases reaction efficiency. Each reactor unit had 8 pumps circulating coolant water to absorb the immense heat. However, in the event of a power cut, these pumps needed continuous operation. Each unit was equipped with 3 diesel generators to restore power, but these required 60 to 75 seconds to reach full load. To bridge this gap, engineers relied on residual turbine momentum to temporarily power the pumps. Unfortunately, this system had critical flaws. The disaster was a result of multiple failures, both human and technical. The incident occurred during a safety test designed to determine whether the slowing turbine could generate enough power to keep the reactor's cooling water pumps running in case of a power outage before the backup diesel generators kicked in. A similar test had been conducted the previous year, but the results were unsatisfactory due to a rapid drop in turbine power. This time, new voltage regulators were introduced to improve performance. Originally, this test was scheduled for the day shift on April 25th, but an unexpected power demand from Kyiv electricity grid delayed it. At 11:04 p.m., Kyiv's electricity grid granted permission to reduce power generation. The testing preparations began accordingly. As per the plan, the reactor's power output was to be maintained between 700 and 1,000 megawatts. By 12:05 a.m., the reactor's power output reached 720 megawatts. However, as the power output dropped to 500 megawatts, the reactor's control system was switched from local to automatic regulating mode. At this point, an equipment malfunction occurred, causing an unexpected drop in power to just 30 megawatts, far lower than anticipated. This drastic drop was due to xenon-135, a byproduct of nuclear fission. Similar to boron, xenon-135 absorbs neutrons, reducing reactivity and power generation. Under normal conditions, reactor heat burns away xenon-135, but with such a low power level, it accumulated and suppressed the nuclear reaction. In this state, testing was impossible. To counteract this, operators removed several control rods to increase power output. By 12:39 a.m., output had reached 160 megawatts, and within the next 20 minutes, it climbed to 200 megawatts. However, for the test, a power output of 700 megawatts was required. During this time, alarms in the control room signaled a low water level. At 1:05 a.m., 2 additional coolant pumps were activated, further reducing reactor temperature and lowering power output even more. To maintain power, even more control rods were withdrawn, leaving fewer than 15 rods inside the reactor, a dangerously low number that violated safety protocols. At 1:23 a.m., the test began. 4 of the 8 pumps were powered by station service source, while the remaining 4 were powered by the generator. Steam supply to the turbine was shut off, and diesel generators were started. However, the generator's output declined before the diesel generators reached full load, reducing coolant circulation. This led to the formation of steam voids inside the reactor, increasing heat and pressure, making the reactor highly unstable. The entire building started shaking. Realizing the situation was out of control, the operators pressed the emergency AZ5 shutdown button. This inserted all control rods to absorb neutrons and halt the reaction. However, the control rods had a fatal design flaw. Their tips contained graphite, which temporarily increased reactivity instead of reducing it. As multiple control rods entered simultaneously, the graphite at their tips intensified the reaction, generating even more heat. Within 3 seconds, power surged from 200 megawatts to 560 megawatts, then skyrocketed to 30,000 megawatts. The extreme heat burned away xenon 135, further accelerating the reaction. This triggered the first explosion, blowing apart the reactor vessel. A second, more powerful explosion followed within seconds, launching the reactor's 1,000-ton upper shield into the air. The exposed graphite ignited, spewing radioactive material into the atmosphere. 2 workers died instantly, marking the beginning of the worst nuclear disaster in history. At 1:26 a.m., fire alarms blared, and firefighters rushed to the site. Initially, they had no idea what had happened and assumed it was a normal fire. So, they attempted to extinguish it with water. However, it took more than 10 days to put out this graphite fire. Helicopters were called in to drop soil, sand, boron, and lead from above, as these materials could help contain the spread of radiation. However, one helicopter crashed due to radiation exposure, killing all 4 on board. When the firefighters returned from the site, they too started falling sick, and within a few months, 28 of them lost their lives. Those who were exposed to lower radiation levels died a few years later, with some developing cancer. After 10 days, although the fire was extinguished, the extreme heat caused cracks at the base of the reactor. This was extremely dangerous because beneath the reactor was a water tank filled with radioactive water. If the overheated reactor came into contact with this water, it would have rapidly turned into steam. A sudden and massive steam explosion could have triggered a third explosion. To prevent this catastrophe, on May 4, 1986, 3 men, Alexei Anenko, Valery Bezpalov, and Boris Baranov, risked their lives. Wearing only standard diving equipment, they entered the tank and opened the drain valves to release the water, ensuring that the explosion did not occur. If this third explosion had happened, at least 1 million people would have died, and Europe would have become uninhabitable for the next 500,000 years. Fortunately, the 3 divers survived, and no illnesses were detected in them. By May 2, 1986, a 30 kilometers radius around the plant was declared an exclusion zone. Only scientists and government officials were permitted entry. According to a 2018 United Nations Scientific Committee report, around 20,000 children were diagnosed with thyroid cancer due to this disaster. It is believed that radioactive dust settled on grasslands, which was then consumed by livestock. The contaminated milk was subsequently consumed by children, leading to increased cases of thyroid cancer. The Chernobyl disaster serves as a stark reminder of the devastating consequences of negligence and poor reactor design. If you found this video informative, please consider clicking the thanks or join button to support us. Your support motivates us to create more content like this. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Electrology for more engaging and educational videos. Thank you for watching.